I'd ask if you would direct your attention to Deputy Mayor Dover, who will provide the invocation. Stand as you are able, and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor. In honor of Mother's Day, 2 days ago, I'd like to read just a little bit of scripture. This is from Proverbs 31. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instructions is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praises her. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Oh, that's right. Spencer's all bald out there.
All of us, too.
Yeah, that's I started snickering. I was like, oh, Neil's about to speak. I can't laugh at Neil.
Okay, we'll proceed with the agenda. And the first item is roll call. Brenda?
Mayor Padilla,
Here.
Council Members Hiller. Here. Valdivia Acala. Here. Ortiz. Here. Emerson. Kale. Kale.
Here.
Nager. Here. Dobler.
Here.
And Duncan.
And
And Hofer.
Here.
Yep, we have 10 present.
Okay, move on to agenda item number 2, appointments. Brenda, if you'll read, please.
A is a board appointment recommending the appointment of Braden Werner to the Shawnee County Community Corrections Advisory Board to fill an expired term ending May 16, 2025. B is an advisory council reappointment of Steve Schoenberg to the City of Topeka Americans with Disabilities Act ADA Advisory Council for a term ending May 31, 2025.
Okay, you've heard the appointments as read. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Deputy Mayor Dobler, seconded by Councilman Kell. If you call the roll, please.
Councilmembers Hofer,
Here, yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Valdivia Acala,
Yes.
Ortiz, Emerson, Kell,
yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
and Duncan.
Yes.
Oh, all right. So we have 8 yes, motion carries.
The motion has been carried. I have a note here that Mr. Werner, Braden Werner, is in the audience this evening. Sir, if you'll stand so we can recognize you, and thank you for your stepping forward to serve the city in this capacity. Thank you, sir. I just want to make sure that if for some reason Mr. Steve Schoenberg did show up, I didn't acknowledge him as well. Okay, not in the audience. Move on to agenda item 3, presentations. Brenda?
The first presentation we have is an update from the Noto Bid District, and we should have Tom Underwood here presenting.
Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tom, great to have you.
No, Don?
Good evening, hello. Thanks for having me here, opportunity. Our budget's pretty simple. We're a small organization, we're a small area. This is our first year of doing so. As you can see, we've laid out kind of our essential budget items. That was in the document that was sent to you previously. Taking care of the trash, taking care of the snow removal, and then, the other thing is putting in some funds for our budget to help continue to make Noto its unique arts district. So some limited funds for paint and supplies for things we're trying to do, replacing some banners, those kinds of things. So We still have a ways to go. Obviously, we've not collected the funds that we would have hoped to at this point. We're still working on that, and we have plans to continue further in terms of getting those collections. I have expectation that we will collect everything that's due and that's owing. So that's our plan, that's our effort moving forward.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Underwood? Just a quick one. I think it says here that, I'm sorry. Okay. Councilwoman Valdivia Acala.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question, Tom. I see the listing of expenses and then how much you have collected on. Can you just explain to me how the notices go out? Do you send them out? Does the city send them out? And do you anticipate, or can you tell me how many businesses have, without naming names, how many businesses have yet to be collected on?
So there's a total of 17 businesses that have not been collected on yet. That's a little misconstrued to a certain extent because 3 of those businesses are owned by one person. So that takes it down a bit. We expect, there will be a handful that I think we're going to have a challenge with, to be honest with you. But we do expect that the other 8 or 10 will pay. Some of them, it's been, in our contact with them, it's been, oh, I didn't know anything about this. I'm not quite sure how that happens, but it happens. Or, oh, I forgot about it, or, oh, yes, the check is in the mail kind of thing. So we made regular contact. In regard to the invoicing, the city sent out an invoice, I believe the end of March. In January, did a second invoice the end of March, in which point that we included a letter, just kind of again recapped how this came about, what our intent was, our goals of having the bid. Giving that some time to collect. Our plan is that probably looking at sometime in June to do a third invoice, and again, probably with another letter trying to, again, just impress upon the importance of the bid and what we're trying to do.
Okay, and just some follow-up there. Okay, so the city sends that out then, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
For Noto?
Yes.
Okay, and then, do letters escalate, or they just stay at the same level of notification?
Well, I think that we have not crafted the next letter. I think that the advisory council, our discussion was at least explaining what the potential consequence may be, as stated in the resolution. Again, not really having any desire or intent for any consequences to come about from that, but at least to explain in full what the resolution states and what the governing body had passed.
Okay, and because I don't have the resolution right here in front of me, what is your understanding of what the consequences are if it's not collected upon, based on the resolution, again?
My understanding is that, based on the resolution, that there could be a significant per-day fine, and then I think also the potential of losing the license to do business. So in regards to at least what that potential may be, the resolution outlines that.
Okay. And will you be coming back, or is this just your annual report? How will we, the governing body, know to help track along with you during this process, since this is a new bid?
I mean, certainly this was the annual report that I was advised that needed to show to present our budget and our plan. I'm certainly pleased to come back for a follow-up if that's of value, or whether working through the city government on that, or however it needs to be. I'm always happy to appear and present on Noto and what we're doing, we're trying to do.
Okay, and so with the ones that have not been collected on, you said that those are 17 businesses, 3 are owned by the same individual. Are they still entitled to all of these services?
Yes, our services are for the district generally. They're not for any particular business. So snow removal is going to be covering all the sidewalks. As you probably know, we had also businesses who were established before 2008 did not have to pay. And that was kind of a compromise we did in regards to the arts entertainment district businesses and those that had been established for some time. So no, we're not going to stop snow removal based upon, where a business is at. So the businesses, everybody's going to benefit from the bid, whether they have contributed to the bid or not. So whether it's snow removal or art or the activities that we're trying to do or new banners, those kinds of things, we will not make any distinction in regards to whether they've contributed or not.
Okay, and with this being your first round, the first time with this, are you concerned, or are you surprised that 17 businesses remain uncollected on?
I'm disappointed. We went out of our way. We were very strong in communicating the value of the bid. We did not take this endeavor lightly. We had support from the businesses, and many of the businesses who have yet to have paid, not that they necessarily don't want to or don't mean to, they just haven't yet. So I am disappointed that we still have 17 businesses that have yet to have paid. So surprised a bit, yes, and I'm just disappointed that we've not had greater follow-through and greater participation thus far.
Okay, well, what I would like to do, looking over the agenda packet and seeing the amount, it felt important in the number of businesses that you had listed that had paid. It felt important to ask how many had not, to get an understanding of what your process is like for the collection and how the city, works on your behalf in that way. Obviously, I would like to see if you and I can get together to discuss this collecting part, in depth, because I know how hard y'all are trying out there and everything that's trying to get established.
Yes.
So I'll be touching base with you, and then I would also like to see, what those forms are that you're going to be using for further notices, just to get an understanding, because this was a big jump going to this bid for you all.
Right.
And still, I want to be able to wrap my mind around it more. I know that I'm not part of it, instituting that, but I would like to get a better understanding, because I know how hard that you all have worked on making it happen. So I'll be touching base with you.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you.
Fantastic, thank you.
Mayor.
Further questions for Tom? What I was going to ask you, she asked, so
Okay.
I don't have anything further to ask. Want to make sure? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Second presentation is Topeka Tourism Bid Update.
We have Kurt Young coming to present.
Thank you, council members. Appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. I'll try and give you a brief update. This is our 5th year. We are in our 5th year of the T-bid, the Tourism Business Improvement District. And I can't sing its praises enough in terms of what we've been able to accomplish with this money for the community. First off, before I get into some details, I just want to recognize the 7-member T-bid advisory board. You have their names there on the document that you have. Those are the 7 people who control and manage this fund for the betterment of the community. I also want to thank Vince Fry. He went off at the end of this past year, 12/31 of 22, and he has been replaced. We now have Danae Mosier and John Gates. John is the GM of the Courtyard Marriott, and of course you all know Danae with the Kansas Children Discovery Center. The purpose of the T-bid has not changed since its inception. It was designed from day one to provide funding for initially the design and construction of what is now the Evergy Plaza. Once it was built and operational, the funding has been shifted from a design and construction perspective to an operational perspective. So the budget for the 2024 year, I believe is what you have in front of you. And the breakdown, we've left the percentages the same. It's setting at 81.95% of what we collect goes to the Downtown Topeka Foundation for the operation of the Evergy Plaza. This is probably an appropriate time to just let you know that since the inception of this T-bid, it went into effect January 1st of 2018, the Topeka Lodging Association, through this funding mechanism, has contributed $1,558,000 and change to the foundation for the operation of the design, construction, and operation of the plaza. That does not count any of the transient guest tax money that's going in that is being utilized solely for the purpose of defraying the debt service on the property. And I believe the debt service now is down just almost, I don't have the exact number, I didn't pull that up before I left, but it's just a little over 600,000, I think somewhere around 625, something like that, from an original purchase price of $1.6 million. So all good news on both fronts. As I don't know what I told you the last time I stood here, but in 2022, you'll remember the Dino Days exhibit that we had here in Topeka that Visit Topeka worked so hard to achieve. TLA, with some of our contingency T-bid money that we have, contributed $10,000 to the Children's Discovery Center to bring in, help bring in that exhibit. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm going to say it, and I'll say it again, take credit for it again next year when I'm here. We contributed $10,000 this year to the Daniel Tiger exhibit, which just completed here in the month of May. And sometime when you have Danae standing here in front of you, you need to ask her about how successful those two exhibits were. And I don't want to steal any of her thunder, but I think they were probably two of the most successful exhibits that they've had at the Discovery Center. And we are honored and just tickled to death to be able to play a key role in making both of those happen with this funding source. We have no significant changes that we're making in the distribution of the funds for the upcoming year. It's, like I said, it's still right at 82% for the foundation. That's the largest chunk of it. We continue to set aside money for the Kansas Kids Wrestling Tournament that comes in March every year. That is one of Topeka's biggest events from an economic standpoint. So I don't see any changes in the forecast at this point in time. I think that pretty well summarizes where we are. This is the fifth year, as I said. We are due to sunset 12/31 of 27, unless something initiates a change in that before that time. So I think that completes what I really have on my mind and heart to bring to you tonight, and I'll try to answer any questions that you may have.
Councilman Kell.
So just noticing, and you look over the budget, and you're talking about Evergy Plaza and things like that. I'd actually like to see some of our parades kind of use that area a little bit more. I know our Veterans Day parade, I went through that, and we didn't get down there to that area. Almost, to me, it'd be a great little spot to set up for like a for the Marshall stage and things like that, and incorporate things into the parades as it goes on. And some economic impact is, on the side street right there on, what would it be, 7th, having food trucks and having that road blocked off just for food trucks. But I think it'd add a lot more, we're investing the money into this. I think that would be a little bit try to bring in a little bit more. And then I was talking, I might have been talking to Councilman Duncan last week. It'd be nice if we almost had, like with the ice rink at Evergy, it would almost be nice if we had something summertime, like I even brought up the idea of a wiffle ball kind of field that could be easily broken down for other events that happen at the plaza, but something that we could have a little bit more going on there, that can include the city, the
Yes.
residents.
And those are excellent points, and we always appreciate suggestions, and it's long been, I'm going to switch hats just a second and put my foundation hat on, but it's always been our goal that the plaza become the hub of any big activities that take place downtown, whether it's a marathon, a bicycle race, a parade, or whatever. And it's a process that we've still got to work on to expand the scope of what role the plaza can play in those type of events. So that's something that's very well, it's in the front of our minds to get that particular area expanded. So, any other?
Following up on that, Carl, what's your capacity, what's your staff right now to increase?
For the plaza?
Yeah, to increase those kinds of activities?
Right now, we're actually down to 2, John Knight and Dylan. I believe Josh has taken a job with the GTP and the marketing position is vacant. So right now, we're kind of shorthanded. So I know haven't talked to John since last Friday to know where he's at on replacing Josh at this point. So
That'd just be my question, is
yeah,
plans to replace or redefine job descriptions or something?
Right.
Because I know that's a challenge in many cases for staffing, and those ideas are fun, and
Yeah.
they are enjoyed by the community, but it takes somebody to run it
yeah.
and put it
Yes, it
together.
does.
Okay, well, thank you, Carl. Any further questions for Carl?
Kurt?
Kurt, I mean, I don't know why I said Carl.
I knew he did.
Yeah.
He forgets my name.
You're in the K category. So, anything further, Kurt? Or are you?
No,
huh?
no,
Okay.
thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it very much. Thank you
All
for the
right.
presentation.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Carl.
Cut it out, Fred.
He does look like a Fred.
Okay, the next presentation we have is the downtown, oh, I'm sorry, I'm taking over Brenda's role. Go ahead, Brenda.
We have the downtown bid, and we have Ashley Gilfil in here to present.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager. I'm here tonight to present our 2024 projected budget. I am new slightly in this role. I've less than a year, so I can't pretend that I'm going to know everything that the bid is going to encompass, but what I am blessed with is a very knowledgeable bid advisory board that's been doing it for a lot of years. And I like to think that being new was a good opportunity for me to come in this with clear eyes and not really understanding it. Kind of gave me some of that knowledge base of what some of our merchants are experiencing going forward and how they're perceiving it. So when they come to us and say, what is this? Why am I doing this? I was getting the same spiel that they're getting. So when I started having questions, I'm also answering the same ones that they might be having. We're not changing a lot of our services for 2024. I've asked for a little bit of money in the capital cleaning or the outdoor cleaning and maintenance, because what we have noticed is that thankfully there is a significant amount of traffic increase as far as foot traffic downtown. And what that has led to is just needing a little bit more power washing downtown. And we don't need to power wash all of our streets, but some of those hot spots are needing it more often than not. And so we'd like to go up a little bit there. Actually, when you guys are discussing some of those events at the plaza, that is another thing that we're seeing a lot more of. Evergy Plaza has become a cultural hotspot for our community, And we're seeing a lot of our community groups adopt that as their place and where their community is connecting. We have multiple festivals that are moving their events there, from Irish Fest to Fiesta. And what I'm starting to see is a lot more groups that are interested in bringing their events downtown. And they don't want to close down the streets, which is great because that's a hindrance on resources, but they want to use Evergy Plaza. And so we're requesting for about 5,000 more in that category, so we have the opportunity to sponsor a few more of those events that are coming in. I have 3 more cultural events this year that I've already asked for money that, wasn't in the 2023 budget, but we're trying to find that through our private funds to make sure that those get funded, because we want that drive, we want that foot traffic happening. The other part that I'm going to talk about is the miscellaneous, and that is for about $3,500, and that's probably the part that I'm most excited about, but the least exciting for everybody else. It's asset management. So one of the things that we're lacking right now for DTI is an accurate asset management tool. As far as software goes, this would provide us the ability to get something that already latches onto something that we use, or possibly you use, like CityWorks, or something that we could latch onto at the county at a cheaper cost, maybe about $300 a month is what we're looking at, but it would allow us to start keeping track of what we're spending for every single block, every single flower bed, every single labor hour, what it costs to actually caulk the medallions, what it's costing us to track how much we're spending on pre-treatment during the icy months, what the gas for the Kubota is, started laying those foundational pieces, something that can tie into See-Click Fix, so we get work orders when there's a trash can flipped over. If we want to expand where a one-person DTI president and Paul are one-person, one maintenance man show, we need something that's going to get us response times quicker, and if we can just start tracking those things better and having those tools, we'll be able to run more accurate reports. We'll be able to give you guys better numbers at the end of the year. I'll be able to know where our dollars are spent efficiently, and it's just going to be a lot more better process, I think, in the long run. If we can start tracking that now, that we'll build that up, and we can begin making our tier 1 become a tier 2, years down the road if we build those foundation pieces now. So small cost now to get a further reward. The other thing that I've kind of attached or put along with is this collateral piece that we've created this year that we're going to start expanding on for next year as well. And it is one of the ways that we are recruiting businesses to downtown. With the help of our marketing team and Bob Ross, we are actively looking for businesses regionally and outside of our state to come downtown. So we're no longer just sitting around waiting for people to come here. We have these with some of our merchants that they go out and they seek people to come downtown. They say, hey, I have a friend that's opening a restaurant. They hand them these. We make sure that our advocates and our champions have them, so we can make sure to have these. And the other piece that goes along with this is a real estate piece that has what real estate is currently open downtown. We print that in-house because that's ever changing. We don't want to waste money printing that professionally just to have it turn over and be different the next day. So this is something that we can use to recruit not only residential, but new businesses frequently. And it's just something that I'm really proud of came up with this year, that we're looking to expand on new ways to recruit for downtown businesses in the way that we're spending that dollar. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Ashley. Any questions? Councilman Kell.
On this back page of the by the numbers, just curious, where were these numbers acquired from?
These, you know what? I didn't actually put this together, our marketing team did, but I would guess it was from Freddie. So this was something that our analysts at the time would have created, that they would have gotten from GoTopeka.
Okay, so I was kind of curious, trying to figure out where some of these numbers came from.
Yep.
So I could bounce them off other things. Thank you.
Yep.
Further questions? Comments? Ashley, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Oh,
No, Sylvia, I'm sorry. Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you. I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I just want to comment how great of a job that Paul does down on keeping it immaculate and shoveling and the whole nine yards. And I just wanted
I wholeheartedly agree, and if we had, 1,000 Pauls, the world would be a very different place, and I wholeheartedly agree, and that raise is definitely justified. Thank you.
Thank you. I do see him out and about an awful lot. Move on to item 4, the consent agenda, if the clerk will read.
A is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Sylvia Ortiz granting Elijah Rodriguez an exception to the provisions of City of Topeka Code Section 945-150 at seat concerning noise prohibitions. B is approval of the Public Works Engineering contract between the City of Topeka, SBB Engineering Incorporated, and the Kansas Department of Transportation in an amount not to exceed $51,357.02 for providing construction, engineering, inspection services for the KDOT Tyler Shared Use Path. C is approval of a Public Works Engineering contract between the City of Topeka and Finning and Turnip Seed Transportation and Civil Engineering LLC in the amount not to exceed $65,846 for engineering and inspection services. D are minutes of the regular meeting of May 9, 2023. There's a list of cereal malt beverage license renewal applications. Staff is recommending approval. And F is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Sylvia Ortiz granting Leroy Ware an exception to the provisions of City of Topeka Code Section 945-150 at seat concerning noise prohibitions.
Okay, we've heard the consent agenda read. The chair will entertain a motion. Councilwoman Ortiz?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to pull the minutes, if I may, from the consent agenda.
Okay, Councilwoman, is there a cause or reason? Just wondering.
Well, yes, there is. As I was reading them, they're not wrong, but I did have ex parte communication on one of the ordinances, and I did not state it. And so I really wanted to make sure that I got that stated.
Okay.
If the city attorney feels I need to do that.
As clarification, you didn't actually state it at the time last week.
Correct.
Then it would be inappropriate to amend the minutes now. Let me think through how we'll fix that moving forward.
For this piece, do we just exclude the minutes from the consent agenda?
No.
I'm asking city attorney.
No, I think she's withdrawn her request to remove the minutes since they can't be amended to fix what she's asking to fix.
Okay.
That's correct, Mayor. I knew Amanda was gonna kill me, so I wanted to make sure that it's clear though, that I did have ex parte communication. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right. Again, we've heard the consent agenda read. Is there a motion to approve? Councilwoman Hofer, second by Councilman Kell. You'll call the roll, please.
Mayor Padilla?
Yes.
Councilmembers Hiller?
Yes.
Valdivia Aquila?
Yes.
Ortiz?
Yes.
Emerson? Kell?
Yes.
Nager?
Yes.
Dobler?
Yes.
Duncan?
Yes.
And Hofer.
Yes.
We have 9 yes, motion carries.
Okay. Motion's been carried. We'll move to agenda item 5, action items, if the clerk will read.
A is an ordinance introduced by Councilmember Spencer Duncan establishing a land bank and creating new Chapter 2.260 in the Topeka Municipal Code.
Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd actually turn it over to Councilman Duncan if he's able to hear.
I am able to hear. Hopefully you can hear me as I'm not here this evening. So thank you, Mayor, thank you, City Manager. I guess I'm to the point where after a month and a half of discussion and talk and trying to answer as many questions as I can, whether it be from you folks or the community, at this point, I guess if there's further questions or discussion or debate that you folks need to have amongst yourselves with me or with us, this would be the time. Otherwise, I would move that we approve the ordinance.
There's a motion to approve by Councilman Duncan. Is there a second? Second by Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala. Okay? And discussion. Councilwoman Valdivia.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say, I know initially I had a couple of questions, but after a number of conversations with Councilman Durkee, reading over the information that's continued to come out, I feel very good about where we're moving with this land bank, and I am in full support of it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Sylvia Ortiz. Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mayor Michael Padilla. I have a question for Spencer.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I have a couple scenarios for you. I had 4 MIAs this week, I only made it to 3, but they are all in support of this, but they wanted to make sure that I had a gentleman who was trying to give me his house on Thursday night. I said, no, we're not ready for that yet. So if you can kind of go over, once he gives you his house, what's going to happen to it?
Sure. Well, there's a couple levels there. The first is, and I remember I made this very clear when we started this conversation, is just because you want to give it to us doesn't mean we're going to take it. That's the first thing. I know there will be lots of people who will want to just do that, and we've got to be discerning and all those good things. So just because you want to doesn't mean we will. But let's assume that we do say, great, that house is perfect for the program. At that point then, after we've gone through the evaluation of the property itself, is this the right program for it? Should it be used in a different kind of program? We've decided to accept it. Then what happens is we evaluate what's its best use. How much work does it need, and is it worth us going in and doing that work so that we can turn around and sell that property at a rate that someone who can afford to live in that neighborhood can get a quote unquote good deal for it so they can become a homeowner. Or is it in a neighborhood where one of our community organizations, of which there are many, who can say, hey, that's actually a perfect spot and fits in with our program. We're willing to step in and take over possession of that house with your assistance and make it part of our program. So those would be the 2 primary processes then that Board of Trustees would follow along with staff and the city manager to get it into the system, have a human being living in it again, and get it back on the tax rolls.
That was one scenario. Another scenario was, and thank you for that, another scenario was vacant properties.
Just in general, I mean, ones we see as vacant?
Like if somebody gave you a vacant property.
Oh, you mean like a lot or an actual?
A lot, yeah, a lot. I'm sorry.
So,
Vacant lot.
no, just making sure. So I think lots obviously would be scrutinized a little more because again, it would have to serve that purpose as to, I think what you'll find in discussions we've had is that 9 times out of 10, if we're taking on the lot, it's because we've got another organization or someone who's interested in building on the lot. Not that the city is going to probably go build a home on that lot, but again, those community organizations or even someone who builds homes. In some of our infill neighborhoods, what we found is the cost of the land makes part of that upside down. So you want to go into this area where houses are valued X, but it costs just as much to build. Well, if you don't have to put in the cost of the lot, that can save you $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 and make sure that you can keep the house so it'll actually sell in that neighborhood. So I think with a vacant lot, it would have to be very targeted towards somebody we already have willing to step in and take it from there. But giving it to us allows us to speed up the process, clean up the taxes, and use the state law that the state put in place to flip that property a little quicker than you would have to if it was on the local market.
And also, Spencer, just a comment, they wanted me to tell you thank you very much for considering this and for bringing it forward. And they are happy with the ordinance how it is right now. They want to see homeowners get in the areas. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Further questions, discussion? Councilman Kell.
Okay, just kind of wanted to clarify, because I do see an end date, which I like that, we've talked about a 3-year program and it ends at the end of 2026. So when would we actually start? Would it be once we get the board members appointed, or how would we consider a start date?
The start date is effective upon passage. That would give staff then to move forward and we can start appointing the board of trustees and start the program. So it has an end date. But the start date is outlined in there is once it becomes passed by the city council and goes through our general process over that, get it posted. Yeah. So immediately, essentially.
And, I like it the way it is, kind of, it's kind of basic right now, but it's something we can build upon and look at things 3 years down the road after we've kind of done this little test of seeing how things are. But as the way it is right now, I see it's a great opportunity to take some of our vacant properties, some properties that are good properties that someone may not, their family member may have passed away here in Topeka and they live in California. It's a great way, they may be able to give us a great property to just do a little bit with, to flip it for our community. So I think this is a great plan that's been put in front of us.
Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you, Mayor. I've stated my concerns before. I probably don't need to do that again. But I have a district that has a lot of vacant properties and vacant lots. And I am very concerned that the flexibility, particularly with the limitation about rentals, because we all want to prioritize people who are at risk, be equitable in terms of serving all the populations, especially LMI folks. And I'm very concerned that the limitations and the temptations that are in this breadth of an act will not be accomplishing the things that people have in mind, and everybody loves the idea of a land bank. So I just needed to say that one more time. I guess it looks like there's support from the council. I just want to go on record then, as we go into this vote, that I guess I'm willing to support it, but I am very, very leery. This housing development and redevelopment is hard and complex work to do well. So I want to put a challenge out to Spencer and city manager and whoever all is involved in this. I don't even know that we have the staff to do it, but people seem to think we can. So, okay, put the challenge out then to you all to do your homework on each property and on programs. Get informed about what the needs really are and best practices are. And please don't waste anybody's time or money or their hopes and dreams. And that's the possible buyers as well as the people who live there. And with that, I will do the best that I can to support it. I'm just very concerned. Thank you.
Further discussion, comment? Councilman Duncan.
If no one else has anything, I just thought I'd close real quick, Mayor.
I just wanted to thank you for your work on this. You've taken the time to listen to the concerns that have been expressed by some of the council members. I think you've done your due diligence in trying to address those concerns in an effective and fair way. I, too, believe that this can be accomplished with the focus that you've brought to this issue and with some very active, I don't want to say oversight, but supervision by the city manager and his staff. I'm confident that they can take on this task, and I will be supporting it. So thank you again before you have your closing remarks. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. My name is on this ordinance because that's how the process works. But I think as I started this discussion off when we started it, or just a good reminder that this discussion was started in this city almost 30 years ago. And it was the city of Topeka that got the state of Kansas to make these changes. And there were staff at the time who kept trying to push this up the hill for many years. And various things happened, life, market crashes, all those things that get in the way. And then as that process restarted, there were a lot of members of this community, a lot of members of the staff who worked hard on this, and a lot of even other council members who had input into this. And so I just want to thank all of them for all the time and effort that's been put into this. And the beauty of our system, I think why we all like local offices, we can fix things fast if they don't always work right away. And so we'll keep that in mind. I think that Board of Trustees and the city staff will be mindful that if we need to make a correction during this process, we'll come back to you and we'll make that correction. We won't just say, well, we passed it once, this is the way it is. So we'll be very mindful of those concerns and comments that we've heard. And I just want to thank everybody for putting in the time all these years on this. So that was it, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any further discussion? Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala?
Can I second that?
No, yeah, you did. Councilman Duncan made the motion and you seconded it. Okay. All right,
Okay.
so we're ready for a vote? Okay. Brenda?
Oops.
Thank you for the reminder. There is somebody signed up for public comment. Mr. McClure?
Always late to the party. Henry McClure. I've been a resident of Topeka on and off since 1959, July 13th. I identify as somebody politically correct. So as I speak tonight, just remember those terms. I've been told by a good friend that very rarely am I politically correct, but I identify that way. You do have a staff, and it's everybody that has a real estate license in the city of Topeka. And what concerns me is that every real estate person, investor, and deal maker, speculator, now gets to compete against the government. So we get to fund our competition. You've already got a land bank. It's held by the Growth Organization of Topeka. And in our infinite wisdom, we buy up all this land and we take it off the tax rolls in the goal of growing the tax base. And I was out there the other day, drive down 49th Street, and you can see a sign from a Kansas City company that doesn't even have a listing on it. And I emailed that around to y'all. You've got another land bank, whether you like it or not, and just go out to Lawrence Bay and think about the decade of non-taxes paid on Lawrence Bay. And you really need to make a deal with the county to waive the specials, and you got to figure out how to get houses out on there. So there's another land bank you've got that you're responsible for. So how do I compete against your commercial land bank when your contractor has control of all the money and can give away land to a person considering our city? So you've taken commercial real estate people out of the mix, and you know, I'd much rather drive by and see KS Commercial sign here. KS Commercial and I were proposing, we were competing against on a listing presentation the other day, and I called up the managing broker and I said, why don't we just work together on it? And he agreed. So I think that you guys really got to engage and think about the commercial people. If you want to get in the residential real estate business, come to this side of the fence. See what it's like to try to be a developer in this community. See what it's like to try to make sales. You know, there's people that have relationships with people that maybe your contractor doesn't have that might be able to make deals to attract new business. Now, talk to Mary Thomas. Mary Thomas manages a not-for-profit that I'm on the board of, and I'm also, we've got some board members, and I think I'm going to transfer to be the executive director. Hey, Sylvia, I'll take that house today in the name of Agape Village. We've already done one deal in her neighborhood, and we'll take it today sight unseen, done deal. Also, too, if the city of Topeka will give me land, I'll build a house on it and give it away, but it's got to be to a veteran. And it's going to have some strings to it to where they can maintain it, they can prove financial wherewithal to maintain it and pay the taxes. But after a certain, test of time, we'll give them the deed to the real estate. So I think you really ought to start thinking more of less government programs and let the private sector try to solve some of our own problems. And maybe if we just worked a little harder, just minding what we got on our plate, we'd have lower water rates. But thank you so much for your time. I'll stand for questions if you have something about Agape Village.
We don't do that during public comment.
10-4.
All right? Thanks for reminding me.
Thank you for your chance.
Yeah.
Thank you for my chance to speak.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McClure. Okay. No other persons are signed up for this particular ordinance to speak. So we're back to the opportunity to vote. Brenda, if you'll call the roll.
Councilmembers Hiller,
Yes?
Valdivia Akala,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes, yes.
Hale,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Hofer,
Yes.
and Mayor Padilla.
Yes.
We have 9 yes, motion carries.
Okay. Motion's been carried. We'll move to action item 5C, if the clerk will read.
B is a resolution introduced by Councilmember Spencer Duncan establishing the administrative policy guidelines for the City of Topeka Land Bank.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This just coincides with the vote we just took. These are the administrative policies for that land bank.
Okay. Any questions for the city manager? You've read the action item. Is there a motion? Councilman Duncan.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve, second by Councilwoman Ortiz. If you call the roll, please.
Councilmembers Valdivia Akala,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Kale,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Hofer,
Yes.
Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
and Councilmember Hiller.
Yes.
We have 9 yes, motion carries.
Okay. Motion's been carried. Move to action item 5C, if the clerk will read.
C is setting a public hearing date of June 20, 2023 for the consideration of imposing special assessments for Horseshoe Bend subdivision number 6 and number 7, sanitary sewer improvement project 401103, and street improvement project 601130, and Aquarian Acres subdivision number 9, street improvement project 601124.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This just sets the public hearing for June 20 for consideration of this request.
Okay. Any questions for the city manager? Just setting the public hearing date.
Move approval.
Move to approve by Deputy Mayor Dobler, second by Councilman Kell. You'll call the roll, please.
Councilmembers Ortiz,
Yes.
Kale,
Yes.
Nager,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Hofer,
Yes.
Mayor Padilla,
Yes.
Councilmember Hiller,
Yes.
and Valdivia Akala.
Yes.
We have 9 yes, motion carries.
Okay. Motion's been carried. We'll move to the non-action items on the agenda. Brenda, if you'll read.
A is discussion of the proposed CIP and CIB.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With your permission, I'd like to turn this over to Adam Vaughn.
Adam?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to everybody. We'll start off from where we left off after last council meeting with the Public Works yearly programs. So I'll turn over to Director Copley.
Good evening, governing body. We'll start with the Public Works programs. I want to clarify a couple of misstatements last week. There are only 2 programs that we are advocating an increase in, and we will talk about those tonight. That's the pavement management program, and that is the alley program. And then we eliminated 3 programs, and then all the other programs are staying at the same funding level as last year. So I just wanted to clarify that. The pavement management program, our recommendation is to take that from $6.3 million to $9.8 million. So that's an increase of $3.5 million. The funding for that is going to be coming from the surplus. So as the new Public Works Director, I inherited a number of issues and opportunities for improvement, and one of those was a staggering surplus in the citywide half-cent sales tax. It obviously doesn't bode us well to go to the voters and ask for a renewal of a sales tax if we have almost $20 million, which was projected to be the ending balance this year. We're knocking $5 million of that off by doing our additional mill and overlay projects this year, and then moving forward by increasing the alley program and the pavement management program, we'll be able to take that surplus down to projected to be less than $80,000 at the end of 2028. Last week, you were provided with a specific list of street projects that we've included in the pavement management program. I just want to highlight a couple of those. Northeast River Road, $1.3 million, that has a PCI currently of 39. This one is essential to get done in 2024 because we know that once PQV starts, Port Quincy Viaduct, the River Road's going to bear additional traffic. The Westwood neighborhood, this is one driven by local people in the neighborhood that brought to our attention that the PCI is approximately 31. This neighborhood is from approximately 17th to 21st Street and goes from McVicker over to Arnold. Northeast Grant in Michigan, this has been a problem that has been brought by this council member for 3 years in this neighborhood, that there is a lack of drainage. The only way to address this problem is to change the profile of the street to actually get positive drainage because we don't have any storm infrastructure in that area. Southwest Roosevelt and Kenilworth, this is a project that was brought to our attention. We've got average PCI of 27 to 36, and this is just west of McVicker, south of 8th Street. And then we have Southeast Golden. Again, this is one that a council member for that district has, every time I've talked to her in the last 3 years, she's brought this project to my attention. Obviously, we have a lot of joints failing on this stretch of road. 2024 would be for the design, and then construction would be 2 years, 2025 and 2026. And the reason why I have to split the construction out over 2 years is because Reesers runs all of their trucks from their new salad plant, the 6th and Croco, along 6th Street to get to their transportation facility. So I have to be able to accommodate one of our largest employers to be able to keep 6th Street functioning. And with that, I'll gladly stand for any questions on the pavement management program, which truly is our workhorse in terms of our projects, citywide half cent sales tax funded projects.
Okay. Councilwoman Mayer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Director Copley. I just want to applaud the efforts of the Westwood neighborhood. This has been brought to my attention, not only because people have asked me about it, but because my family has grown up there. They did this on their own without my help. I really applaud them for their tenacity and for getting this to the city's attention. So well done to the citizens, and thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you, Mr. Copley, for shouting me out. I appreciate that. And I also appreciate how you put in there design only in 2024, so that my constituents will see that and not, they're waiting on it. They're waiting on it. And I'm sure we can find another route for those big trucks. I'll help you. Put on your little orange vest and come pick me up. We'll figure it out. Thank you.
Councilman Kell.
Kind of want to go back to Elevation Parkway a little bit. I've actually got a lot of phone calls and some messages about that. Kind of want to know what the short and long-term benefits are to that, and in essence, why are we adding on more roads when we're actually having issues with that? A lot of people would sit there and say that taking 37th straight across benefits a lot more than going out to 41st or whatever it is out that direction. Population, adding road out there, I just don't see the population out there. So I just know a lot of people have concerns that the more it's been discussed in the meetings about investing into a stretch of road like that.
Mr. City Manager.
Councilman Kell, so we have commissioned a study for best use of that land. Once we get that study back, we will certainly share that with council. The path of the road certainly has been suggested, but it is not etched in stone yet. And so we see this area as an opportunity for housing growth. So a desperate area of need for us. That's why that has been proposed right now. Certainly when we look at the possibility of growing our population with the growth of Panasonic, we're not far away. And so we're trying to get that housing stock so we can keep people here in Topeka.
Yeah. And like I said, a lot of people, I think what it is it's going diagonal to the southwest rather than just going straight west, where it's almost like it benefits going one direction, where if you're not really traveling anything out towards the southwest, where if you're going straight 37th, straight across to 37th in the Clarion Woods, Clarion Lakes, I can't remember exactly which one it is, but if you go straight and connect it, you're benefiting a lot more people going both directions. You're creating a path, for a person that goes down that road a bunch down 37th. You're creating me to go more towards the west half of Topeka by just straight connecting. But if I have to go to the southwest, I'm not going to use that road going that direction. So I'll just end up going down to 29th or something like that. So there's a lot of people that have the concern of the direction, the geographical direction it's going, and then the, why we're kind of investing in a new road like that when we're having an issue where maybe that 18 million, I think it was, can go towards more road improvements and just put those on the scale, try to get those things done. We've done a great job so far. Roads in my area have been getting the, I'm sorry.
Microsurfacing.
Microsurface. I thought it was microsurface, but I didn't want to say wrong, but a lot, Kansas Avenue, Humboldt, a lot of the ones in my area have been, and it looks great, and if it extends the roads, great, but we also have a lot of roads that are in need of just mill and overlay and other things that they're just so potholed and so nasty that it's almost be nice if we actually fix those before we went on to a major project like Elevation Parkway.
Other comments? Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you, Mayor. 2 questions. One, and this is about the pavement management and the city half-cent sales tax. Early on, we, council, right or wrong, pulled some money out of that to hire 2 full-time engineers. And it seems like the last time I can remember that had been bumped up to either 3 or 4 engineers. Are we paying for engineers out of this money somewhere in this budget?
There is one FTE that is funded with the half-cent sales tax fund, sorry.
Okay, and have we looked, I'm watching, that helps answer a question because I kept seeing engineering numbers on these projects that we didn't, contracted pretty high dollar design work and so on, and have we been looking at flipping that back into where we were using some of those, many of those contracts are somewhat equivalent to an annual salary of an engineer.
Mr. City Manager.
So Councilman, we've actually been very aggressive at trying to recruit engineers. We've made an adjustment on compensation to try to make that more attractive. We're trying recruitment with area universities. To this point in time, I would not say we've made significant traction.
Okay. One thing I was trying to add up the money for the half-cent sales tax, and there wasn't any left, and I thought that we were funding engineering out of it as well. So does that funding show up on the general fund side, or should we see it in this capital improvement budget?
For the half-cent?
Salaries. The salary funding.
The salaries won't show up in this capital budget, no.
The other question I had was, the PCIs on these are low, but in each case, I think, Braxton, you said that they're on this list because of advocacy of the people that live there or a council person. When would these have rolled up without that advocacy?
That's an impossible question for me to answer, because we look at council advocacy or citizen advocacy would not get a project with a PCI of 79 onto this list, right?
Right.
So it is a multifaceted in terms of me and my staff are having to make very hard decisions in terms of hundreds of miles of needs with only handful of miles of funding capability. And so I try to do the best job that I can every day to make the best decisions based on the best facts and the best reasons out there.
And I understand that. It looked like I saw a chart either for the PWI committee or whatever, where we are reducing at least a little bit our percentage of streets that are under 30 or even under 50. I just wondered how long these would have waited if there hadn't been advocacy, that's all. So I too feel that pressure of the end of the half-cent sales tax and where we're spending that money, that's all.
Yeah, Councilwoman, I would just say that, certainly under the leadership of Director Copley, we're seeing a lot of streets come for repair sooner than they would have before. That's completely separate from advocacy. We're being very aggressive with painting our streets black.
Thank you, and I too support getting more money into the streets, so thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. To address Councilman Kell's concerns about Elevation Parkway, we have been having a number of discussions about the possibilities and the opportunities, if it's passed, for that roadway. It's not just a road into nowhere. The idea that it will generate housing development and retail development is part of the package as we consider how best to engineer. I won't be the engineer, thank goodness. How best people who are experts in this area, how it will give us the opportunity to grow our inventory for residences, and how it can relieve some of the congestion that we have at 29th and Fairlawn now. If you go through there on a fairly regular basis, you can see that there is a need for that kind of relief. But nothing is set in stone, and to suggest that because we already have bad roads, we shouldn't think about building new roads, I think might be a little short-sighted for our community, because that means we just stand still and don't do anything. I think you have to still look toward the future. So there'll be plenty of time for discussion and consideration of the benefits of that project. And that council that we will get will help us in that direction. So I just wanted to let you know that it's a process that has been going on for some time. I know that the project, at least on paper, has been there for, Deputy Mayor, maybe you can remind me, 20 years or so? 30 maybe. Maybe 30 years. So I just want to give you that bit of information. Councilwoman Vadiviakala.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things, and I hope this fits into, since we're talking about the CIP and CIB. One, when it comes to Councilman Kell's comments, I am glad to know that we're having a study done on the Elevation Parkway, because for any number of reasons, I have a tendency to support the concern Councilman Kell has, since I've been hearing from a number of constituents in District 2 and even beyond District 2 that believe Elevation Parkway is a bloated project that is not needed. So we'll find out more as we get information from the study and continue to debate the issue. The one thing that I wanted to bring up is that I know that there was a project that was taken out of the CIP because of cost and cuts that Director Copley had to make. And my deep concern at this particular cut, because it is a very dangerous part of Lyman Road where there have been some traffic deaths due to very narrow streets, et cetera. We were just looking at, sidewalks added for now, so kids walking to school from the trailer park there in North Topeka wouldn't have to be walking on the sides of the road. And I think probably in the last 15 years or so, there have been 2 deaths. This is like a paltry little $250,000, but it's been, pushed out. And at the historic North Topeka West NIA, people wanted to know why. So I went back and I looked at pages and pages, 3.5 years of pages of correspondence about this whole project, the concern about the public health and safety with the teen that was killed a couple of years ago there, et cetera, and now it's being pushed off. But the additional issue added to that is that I pulled the map, the historic.
Councilwoman, we lost your audio.
Can you hear me?
There you go. You're back.
Okay, sorry. I pulled a map, not only from the Topeka Housing Study, but also from, I think it's a nationwide website called Red Mapping or something of that nature. And what you do is you put in your location and then it shows you where the historic redlining has occurred in any particular city. And obviously we know with the impact of redlining, we're still seeing the ramifications in districts, mostly 1, 2, and 3. But because of this, and I asked finance about this in a meeting that I had last week, I don't know what kind of study or research can be done to find out what Topeka is doing to bring up to par that historic legacy of redlining that was no one's fault, that lived within these communities. And I understand also that infrastructure is a very strong component on bringing equity into these, into these areas historically redlined. So I don't know, I'm just tossing this out for now, and I'm going to have deeper conversations with somebody about it, because I want to get an understanding of how much funding for infrastructure has gone into these historically redlined areas, and what other cities are doing that we can look to as a model to increase that funding as needed and as possible, so that we understand, with all the equity verbiage that's going around, all the little catchy phrases, blah, 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 that we can also show that in the way of infrastructure, equity is one of the, equity is being had, and these are the tools that we're using. I don't know how we will do that. I don't know if we will have to have a study, but to me, it seems very important, especially with the rub that I feel about $250,000 being taken from a street project that for now that would help, it's starting sooner rather than later, would help keep citizens safe. And I know that it's not about trying to compare a $15 to $17 million elevation parkway project to this little measly $250,000. I know they're separate things, but I think what it really serves is as a picture of some of the challenges that we still have when we're looking at CIP and CIB. I know a lot of good things have happened, but I don't know, city manager, if that's going to come with working with you and how we figure out dollars amounts, say, within so many years that have gone towards various districts. If other district people don't want to know about it, that's fine. I want to know about it for District 2. So I'm just throwing that out there for now. Thank you, Mayor.
City Manager.
Councilwoman, 2 different things. One, team did look at your request today on that $250,000, and I think we have some creative solutions for you with that. And on the second part, as far as the study, I know that we had done some work on that previously. It'll have to be updated to current numbers, but I think I can pull some stuff for you.
Thank you.
Further questions or for Mr. Copley? Seeing none? Okay. Proceed.
Continuing with our discussion of programs, I have listed the 4 alley projects that we have tentatively identified for 2024. We are advocating increase of $250,000 to $750,000, which would allow us to fully fund 4 alley projects per year, because our average cost for an alley is about $175,000. That is just for the pavement. Clearly, we don't go in and do any alley without having the conversation with the utilities department to determine the condition of the sewer, because I would never put a brand-new $175,000 alley on top of a 100-year-old vitrified clay sewer pipe that is prone to failure. Moving on to the firm project, which is basically the facilities improvement and replacement that has been continually funded at the $2.3 million per year. The projects that we have tentatively identified for 2024 include improvements to the forestry and heavy-duty garage, specifically building exhaust, electrical, and floor drains. We also have identified improvements for fire stations 9 and 10, including adding women's restrooms and kitchen remodels, as well as City Hall fire alarm improvements.
So this next program is our neighborhood infrastructure program. In the past, it's been our SORT program that has been rebranded as our DREAMS program. These programs have a lot of coordination that happens between finance, engineering, planning, community engagement, and the neighborhoods that we work with. So there's 3 different programs that happen within this neighborhood program. So Dreams 1 and 2 alternate each year and are funded for about $2 million with a mix of a variety of funding sources. So Dreams 1 is a targeted investment towards a specific neighborhood, and Dreams 2 is a application process that opens up for neighborhoods to fund projects between $100,000 and $1 million. And so the CAC goes through those applications and selects projects for best fit. And then those alternate each year between Dreams 1 and Dreams 2. The third program is Dreams 3, which occurs each year. And it's a smaller amount, about $200,000 a year, which is a combination of CDBG funding and GO funding. The CDBG funding goes towards some housing rehab, and the GO funding goes towards some smaller infrastructure projects within neighborhoods that is also awarded with a grant style.
Moving then into our other programs that we have in the Public Works Department. Infill sidewalk, which has been historically funded at $600,000 per year. This is to basically implement the recommendations in the pedestrian plan that is managed by planning. The Public Works provides the technical assistance in terms of helping to do the projects. For 2023, as a reminder, the target neighborhood is Central Highland Park. 2024, the target neighborhood is Oakland. And that will be in addition to approximately 200,000+ that we're doing this year in Oakland with the additional SORT funds that were allocated to that NIA. As mentioned before, Complete Streets program, we've shifted away from that. We've instead identified GO-funded items, for example, the missing $300,000 of missing curb and gutter on Topeka Boulevard between 21st and 29th that we're going to be, that we've identified GO funds to help install that. TransOps Fleet Replacement Program, 1.3. This is another one where I wish I had twice as much money because the costs are going up alarmingly. The 2 tandem dump trucks that we have, That $333,000, that's per dump truck, or $660 for two. That's $100,000 more than the last tandem dump trucks per dump truck that we ordered over a year ago. Additionally, we're ordering a grapple truck and a loader. Traffic safety, this is incredibly important program for engineering. Since last September, I've had 53 different traffic engineering requests that have come in, whether that's a traffic study request from a council member or from a constituent relative to sidewalk. We've been able, sometimes it's a relatively low-cost improvement, like what we're implementing over at Whitson, which is being able to change the traffic pattern, adding some signage. But these are vitally crucial that I can be responsive and that I can be timely in terms of getting back to constituents. Perfect example, another perfect example is, you'll remember several months ago, a citizen spoke at public comment about a injury accident at 29th and Villa West. We were able to engage a consultant in the study, got the final report last week. Recommendation was to go ahead and add a flashing beacon and crosswalk at 29th, about 200 feet to the west of Villa West. And so we've identified funds in this program to be able to implement that. So can't tell you how important that particular program is for us to be responsive to concerns that the governing body and constituents have. And the answer is not always yes, because we have to be mindful of what the law is. We have to be mindful of the MUTC do, but we absolutely listen. We're respectful, and we will, if the answer is no, we will say why the answer is no. Lastly, traffic signal replacement. We're going to be able to supplement using Fed funds for this year to get us up to $1.2 million. Currently, to signalize an intersection, it's at $400,000. So 1.2 million basically gets us 3 intersections. What we've identified for 2024 includes 6th and Golden, 21st and Bell, and North Topeka and Independence. Lastly, our final, yes, ma'am. 6th and Golden, 21st and Bell, North Topeka and Independence, and those are the ones identified for 2024. In 2023, we will be replacing the signal at 17th and Fairlawn, because that is literally just temporarily installed. It's hanging from a cable. I need to get a proper mast arm up there, but that will be funded out of the 2023 program. And we're just getting started to get in design on that. So hopefully end of this year, we'll be able to get into construction. Yes, ma'am. Our last batch of programs, the ADA sidewalk ramps, again, no change, 300,000. And we always follow the infill sidewalk to get the most bang for the buck in terms of where we can make a difference, a meaningful difference. And so again, 2024 will be the Oakland neighborhood curb and gutter. Again, no increase in that, 1.2 million. I want to recognize publicly our employee who handles that, Vince Sheets. He has done a stellar job of getting caught up. When I started, we had well over $1 million of money that was just sitting there from previous programs that had not been done. Right now, we are down to 267,000 of unencumbered funds between 2019 and 2022, and we hope this summer to get a package out to be able to get those last funds encumbered and get those spent. So that gets us into the 2023, and Vince has gotten a couple of projects out of the 2023 funding. Sidewalk repair. This is the infamous 50/50 program. As you remember, we made significant change to the structure of that program by allowing for the 50% share that the city would pick up to actually cover the 50% share of the citizen for qualifying low to moderate income individuals. Again, when I inherited this. There was over $150,000 of unspent funds that we kicked back into the half-cent sales tax. For the 2022 program, we spent all but $2,000 of that. $39,000 of that went for LMI sidewalks. So that was the ones where the city picked up both sides, and then we had $59,000 that went for the 50/50. Street crack sealing and microsurfacing, again, funded at $2 million. This is one where we really moved the needle in terms of PCI. So if I can take a street that has a PCI of 70 approximately and go in and do a crack sealing, I can take that PCI back up into the 95 range, and I'm only spending $50,000 per lane mile, as opposed to mill and overlay, I'm spending about $250,000 per lane mile, and full depth reconstruction, about $1.5 million per lane mile. So in terms of pavement management, this is an extremely helpful program for us to keep our good streets good. Bridge maintenance, we have far more needs than we have funds. We have no problem identifying bridge issues to take care of. In fact, this year, our consultant currently is working on some improvements, some short-term repairs, as well as some long-term repairs, including replacement of an expansion joint on the bridge over by BNSF. Drawing a blank on which one that is, Branner. And lastly, Bikeways Master Plan. This is driven by planning. Public Works is basically the technical support in terms of helping to implement the projects that are recommended that come out of the CA Complete Streets Advisory Committee. And with that, I will gladly stand for any questions on any of our Public Works programs or projects that we've spoken about.
Questions for Director Copley? Braxton, I would assume when you were talking about that public safety, that would include signage for yielding and caution and all that other?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the reason I ask is I had a constituent approach me about a request for some signage. I think it was over in Oakland. I did give him your contact information so that maybe he can give you a call and talk to you about that. I know that that's important because, especially in the uncontrolled intersections, if there isn't some direction given, that often can result into an accident. And that's important for us to get that signage where it's most effective. So I appreciate you making that a priority. Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say Braxton has done a really good job in Oakland in having a traffic study that we have spent quite a while on with uncontrolled intersections, people wanting more stop signs, yield signs, etc. This constituent that you talked to may have been one that wasn't at the NIA meeting when everything was posed to those at the NIA meeting. They voted on what choices that Braxton was able to pose. Some of those are still looking for funding. Some of the yield signs have already been put in and have had flags on them. So Braxton, if that ends up being someone, different, a different issue than what we dealt with all these months, if you could let me know, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Further questions? Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you, Mayor. Braxton, I'm getting good reports from a couple of my neighborhoods about the curb and gutter program and some catch-up. Just wanted to ask an overall question because there were, prior to your taking over Public Works, some jokes about the list being on toilet paper. There were actual statements by staff to constituents that the waiting list was 5 years long for curb and gutter. I'm sure you're familiar with that. How long is, you guys, sounds like you're making great progress. How long is that waiting list now?
I'm not going to answer that without first checking with Vince to find out what year of C-Click Fix tickets he's into, but I will provide that information to Finance, who will add that to the CIP supplement.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions? Brushman, are you, have more in your presentation?
Thankfully, no, sir. You're done with me.
Thank you very much for the information. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah, so we do have a few more slides. So this morning in Public Works Infrastructure meeting, we went over a few slides of the couple changes that we want to make to the approval process. So essentially what this will do will give the governing body the opportunity for a final approval of projects once projects have completed their design. So if a project is over $250,000 and it's been designed, then staff will bring that to the Public Works Infrastructure Committee first for that approval to move forward with that project. With a lot of the projects increasing drastically and with inflation and other costs, we just wanted to provide this extra layer for you to be able to ensure that projects are moving according to the overall plan for the city. So this next slide shows just a very simplified project page, similar to the pages in the CIP book, but just pretty straightforward of what that last approval will look like. Also in the meeting this morning, we went over the JADO fund in this next slide. So the project costs in the original JADO agreement have been updated to show the current budget, which is much larger than what was initially anticipated. And this next slide shows that with what our sales tax revenue estimates are looking like, we'll have to make some decisions about where to prioritize our JADO projects. And so there will be further discussion in the future about what that looks like going forward. I think we'll have a presentation ready for the September JADO board meeting where we will make some of those adjustments. Furthermore, this morning we made an amendment to the City Hall and TPAC HVAC project where some emergency repairs came up on in this building. And so that page will be updated and also presented in that supplement, the third supplement that we provided. So this last slide kind of shows the roadmap of what we've done so far with the CIP presentation. So the only few outstanding items is, in the first presentation, there was a question asked by Councilman Duncan about kind of the audit of projects. So we'll present kind of an update on open projects and where we are and how, and you heard a little bit there from Director Copley about how we've been working diligently to make sure that we are spending any of funds from older projects, that they're either spending them or returning them back to the debt service fund where they need to go when projects are completed. So we'll do that, and we'll also kind of give a general overview of what else is in the years 4 through 10 of the CIP. So we tentatively had it on the schedule to have an additional CIP workshop next week. With where we are, we do not believe that we need that unless there is a desire from the governing body to address any specific concerns. But that is all that I have for this evening, and happy to answer any questions.
Deputy Mayor Dober and then Councilman Kell.
Thanks, Mayor. Not a question, so you're off the hook there for a minute until Councilman Kell comes on. I appreciated the opportunity. I think I brought this up a couple times about approving projects. So 3+ years ago, I think we instituted a partial project approval process with certain projects, including half-cent sales tax. This really completes the process, and I've got to say the finance staff, public works staff really put this all together. I just kind of made the suggestion. They came up with what I think is a great process. It's a good compromise. Years ago, every single project had to be approved by the council. There were long nights of debates on $5,000 sidewalk projects, and that that doesn't do anybody any good. I think where the limit is set at $250,000, that's a good-sized project, not a huge project anymore, but it does give council that opportunity to approve a project once the city staff knows exactly what it's going to cost, or pretty close to what it's going to cost. That project comes in front of the council. It's not something that's been approved 3 years ago and everybody's kind of forgotten about, and then all of a sudden it shows up. So appreciate the response. I think it's been great. I think we've got a process when it gets completed here, which I think my intent would be to make this active with the CIP at the first of 2024. So things that are already in process, we don't really need to hijack that process at this point. We can just start it the first of next year. So thank you very much.
Councilman Kell?
I was just looking at the JADO updated project cost, and there's a project, Southwest 37th Burlingame to Scapa Place, and it says projected years 27 and 29. What's exactly in that project? Because that road, I thought in the last 3 years or so was mill and overlay. My only concern about that is I'm trying to figure out, because that road has terrible drainage in that area, and when it rains, it turns it into a river. So I just wasn't sure if that was part of that project.
You're talking about the countywide half-cent sales tax funded project from Southwest 37th from Burlingame to Scapa Place?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because it's countywide half-cent sales tax, we would have the ability, as part of our engineering work, to eliminate stormwater problems, because that countywide half-cent is not just limited to existing sidewalk, curb, and gutter. Now, obviously, the scope is going to be subject to governing body approval in terms of how wide they want. But certainly, if there were stormwater issues, countywide half-cent, we would have the ability to upsize, add pipe, add additional structures to eliminate stormwater issues.
Yeah, because as right now, if I remember right, that right before you started going on the hill towards Burlingame or up the hill, pretty much right by Fire Station 10, there's no drainage whatsoever. So it just, you hydroplane like crazy if you're in a small car. So I was bringing it up just in case that is part of the project or not, because like I said, it was mill and overlaid, I believe, 2-3 years ago, which, I was like, oh, this is great, because I used to travel a whole bunch to go to take my daughters to school, but I avoided every single time it rained because I was fearful of hydroplaning on it. So I was just kind of curious, because like I said, it just had a mill and overlay, so I was wondering what might be a part of that project, because as a road, it looks really great right now in that area, and that's kind of where I brought up in the previous meetings. From that point towards like Kansas is where it was really rough. So I was kind of curious why that was, there, so.
Okay, did I answer your question, Councilmember?
Yes,
We certainly
thank
have
you.
the ability to fully and adequately address the stormwater issue using countywide half-cent sales tax.
Yeah, thank you.
Further questions? Adam? Thank you very much. Move now to public comment. We have 3 people signed up for public comment. Mr. William Brandlin, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. I'm here to talk about PUD 2302 again. And I'd just like to address one point tonight, and I'll come back in the coming weeks to talk about the other ones. But Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala made the suggestion at May 2nd meeting that whoever does the traffic study be appointed by an independent party. And I would just ask that you would do that, because it's very important that nobody gets an unfair advantage by getting to choose a contractor. And so my suggestion would be have the city council appoint somebody, because you're as far removed from it as anybody. The suggestion. I was late getting this out, but you have a handout right here. Okay, and if you look at the handout, you'll see at the south end, it's PUD 2302. That's the section under consideration for rezoning. Over the weekend, I had a friend who has a laser measurer, and we measured the width of Walnut Lane and Sproaton Lane, both on the straightaways and the curves. And you can see what the numbers are. They're basically 21 feet wide on Walnut Lane and about 19 feet wide on Sproaton. I would ask that the traffic study encompass both with no Sproaton Lane access and also with Sproaton Lane access, because Councilman Dobler brought up the fact that it might be a good idea to have an easement for cars going in and out of the proposed development with Sproaton Lane, okay? Just as a point of reference, I didn't use a laser, I used a tape measure, but I have a Subaru Forester. And my Subaru Forester at the widest point is about 6 feet, give or take a couple inches, because I had a tape measure. So you can see that if there's cars parked on both sides of the street, on either Walnut or Sproaton, and I'm sure Sanford's about the same, only one car can get by at a time. And I'll talk more later on about what effect having an access on Sproaton Lane would be. But the main point tonight is I think that the traffic study should consider both alternatives. No Sproaton Lane connector or with a Sproaton Lane connector, and that somebody independent who has no vested interest in this appoint whoever does the traffic study that was suggested by Councilman Dobler. And then also one last thing. Last week, the developer made the comment that the pictures of the flooded areas that we presented at the Planning Commission 2 months ago were inaccurate because they didn't show the area that PUD 2302 considers. I'm sure it was an honest mistake, but it was a mistake. We had pictures of that area, and if you would like me to produce them again, I'd be happy to. And I believe Councilman Valdivia Alcala might actually have copies of them. I'm sure it was an honest mistake, but it was a mistake. I'd be happy to entertain any questions if you have any.
We don't do that, sir, during
Oh, you can't do
public comment.
I apologize. You told me that
No
last
problem.
time, too.
That's all right.
All right. Thank you,
Not an
Mr.
issue.
Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Second person we have is Andy Fry.
Good evening, council. I'm Andy Fry. I'm representing myself and no other entities this evening, but I am representing as a member of the Complete Streets Committee, Heartland Healthy Neighborhoods, somebody who rides their kids to work every day or to school. I go to work, they go to school. And then a victim of a hit and run on my bicycle about 10 years ago. And so I mentioned that because I think I heard some discussion in the last couple of weeks about complete streets, and I just wanted to come maybe share a slightly different perspective beyond the raw economics of complete streets, or maybe not economics, but the perceived economics of it. So, you know, do all complete streets need, or do all streets need to have complete street treatments? Probably not. But are we doing enough yet to meet those needs? I also would say we're not. I think we still have a ways to go in both our existing projects and future projects as we redo streets. How would we pay for it? I would suggest we pay for it the same way we do now, but rather than eliminating the complete streets elements when the budget gets tight, we just do fewer projects to begin with. And that's probably a hard sell for some people, but I think that the safety element of it is worth it. It's been an issue that's gone on, and that's been kind of the conclusion or the excuse for an extended period of time. And so I think we should move past that point as a community and wrap our arms around the idea that people's safety, whether we're in a car or not, is important. I think the issue of dissatisfaction that seems to be made a lot of context to in these comments about complete streets may relate less to the complete streets elements and more to the public outreach process and the engagement process that's gone on in, for example, the 12th Street project. I know that everyone continues to make further efforts to improve that, and I applaud that. And I think we have still ways to go in engaging people who are impacted by the project and surrounding the project in future projects. It's worth noting that there's research that suggests that safety of people who are not in vehicles or people who are walking or on their bikes is directly impacted by design and not just by behavior. And so this is why it's important that we can consider complete streets elements when our engineers and consultants are designing stuff. With that, being here not on behalf of, but as a Complete Streets Advisory Committee member, I just wanted to mention that it is Bike Month in May, on a slightly happier note perhaps, and that there's several events going on. This week there's the Ride of Silence on May 17th at 6 at the KTW parking lot. There's the Ride with the City Manager on May 26th at 12:45 in the City Hall parking lot. And you can find a lot of these things on Bike Topeka on Facebook. And with my 40 seconds left, I just wanted to feature the other positives that are going on in terms of the Bikeways Master Plan Phase 5 that I think a lot of folks, at least in the biking world, are excited about. The Pathways grant money is coming from the Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation that's funding both the Safe Routes to School as well as the eventually the County Trails Master Plan redo. And just generally wanting to mention that beyond that, there's private efforts in mountain biking and rail trail building going on with different entities across the community. So with that, I appreciate your time.
Thanks, sir. Mr. Henry McClure, you're signed up for public comment.
Is this the final public comment for the night, or just this?
This is the final public comment for the night.
Free for the wheel. Thank you for the second shot at this. Hey, somebody left their glasses. Anyway, Henry McClure, good to see y'all. After listening to Braxton tonight, and like the awareness of bringing up that Jetto, and hey, are we going to have funds for this? I mean, that's really a good idea. And what I think we've got to figure out how a guy can come down here like me and not make you guys so angry you don't want to work with me. Because if I can't do real estate deals, I just have to run for public office. So let's keep me on this side of the fence. So that's a joke, come on. But seriously, if you look at the interlocal agreement, infrastructure and quality of life, if we just take a step back from the way we're doing things today and took all of our Jetto, all of our sales tax dollars and just put it into infrastructure, it's going to make it better to live here today. And maybe that money would be better spent. And then the people that want to donate privately to the contractor that you currently have hired can do so and get a tax deduction. All great. But I'm taking advantage of where you can live in commercial buildings. That was a really cool idea, and I'm looking forward to moving downtown. I'm spending more time downtown, and I look at the Cyrus and the Pennant. Harry Calmary in front of the Pennant, that was my dad's law partner. That's why I kind of have this Veterans Project in my blood. I knew Harry as a child. Then I think about all the positive things that are going on downtown. And you got to also remember how they got there through the TIF and CID and a lot of help. And then the other day, I'm driving by Wheatfield, and I'm looking at that. That's beautiful. If I were a guy coming through Topeka, I would stop there because that's the place to stay. Get a hotel room there, best movie theater I've ever been in. And the hotel, I mean, the apartments, they look like you're living in Colorado. I mean, it's a beautiful, but what it does, it just added value to the whole neighborhood around that area. But it needed some extra help. It couldn't have done it on its own without the incentives. And so what I'm trying to tie a bow on this is that projects like Wheatfield and downtown are done privately, and if we take our government funds and put them into infrastructure, just make it nicer for us to want to live here. Don't make it to where, let's not make it to where loyal people don't care anymore. And, you know, lastly, we got to think about White Lakes and that area. You know, for years, us and the guys in the real estate business, you know, I couldn't lease Bennigan's. When you look, you're standing at the Bennigan's pad before I tore it down, but you're looking at White Lakes. Who's going to want to go? You can't make deals in that area with the how that neighborhood was pulled down, and we need to put some extra love in that boulevard area. And so as projects go forward out in that area, but I think that, you know, you don't really need to come down here. I'm not going to come down here anymore and just yap. I'm just going to keep making deals. You know what I mean? I'm not going to give up on this town. And it's like the only way College Hill got built when it was bigger than Henry McClure. And I'll tell you what, I'll go back and buy it and fix it. Finish building J and put some love back into College Hill and run it right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Whose glasses are those? I'll get it for you.
We'll move on now to the announcements. Madam Clerk?
There's no meeting next week.
Okay. City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next Monday, May 22, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., we will have our annual Topeka Battle of the Badges Blood Drive. This is part of a long-standing partnership that the City of Topeka has with the American Red Cross. Certainly would encourage anybody to come out and donate.
Got my appointment at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm signed up. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of quick comments. I used to think, and maybe up to 2 or 3 weeks ago, still thought that the majority of the comments I received from constituents in my district as well as other parts of the city had to deal with potholes. Seems to be the favorite topic. I think that has been superseded with the issue of the homeless, the unsheltered. It is, as everybody knows, a growing concern. And I think it's, even though sometimes you drive from District 7, southwest Topeka, not a ton of issues in that specific part of town. As you drive other places, you start seeing it. That's not true anymore. We're starting to see problems everywhere. I had an email this week concern behind Brookwood Shopping Center, which is part of my district. The Shunga that goes south of Brookwood, or the tie into the Shunga there. Encampments, folks coming up and using restrooms in the businesses. It is everywhere. I heard from downtown business people this week, concerns about some of the businesses that were mentioned tonight on Kansas Avenue. I know there's no easy answers. I know folks have been working really hard on it. Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala is at the forefront of that, but I'll tell you what, at this point, I'm all in. we have got to do something. And I know the city manager is looking at every opportunity that's out there. It's not a single easy answer, but we've got to keep after it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Is Councilman Duncan still online?
He's on second right now.
Who's on first? No? Okay. You're quick. Councilwoman Hofer. Councilwoman Hiller. Councilwoman Valdivia Alcala.
Nothing.
Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To the city manager, I don't know, I know, Councilwoman Valdivia Aquila asked you to meet with you every 2 weeks. What is in play right now, with the new consultant coming on? Do you have a list of things that you're going to do? If so, I would like a copy of that, because I haven't talked to you about it, to see what we have. Also, where you're at with the study that you took, the trip that you took to Colorado. I just kind of want to know just an outline on where we're going forward. I too am concerned with the summer months. Moving forward, I only think it's going to get worse. Excuse me. I know our spray park is already on, and there's already people that have been chased away for bathing in it, so I would just like to know just an update if you would. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Kell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Fry speaking just reminded me that, we're getting to that good weather where there's getting a lot more people out on bikes, motorcycles, scooters. There are people that are out there, there are knuckleheads on the road with those things. But remember, there's a lot of responsible people out there. And just take the steps, make sure you're being aware of your surroundings as you're driving. Because over the last couple of years, fatalities are up when it comes to those three, with motorcycles, bicycles, and scooters. So make sure you're taking the time, be aware of your surroundings, pay attention for those three items. And then Councilman Duncan reminded me, with his volunteering for coaching, there's a lot of volunteer opportunities out there in Topeka, whether it be a coach, a mentor, helping an organization out. The zoo's looking for people, the library's looking for people, United Way, several different organizations out there are looking for volunteers. Unfortunately, we just had a group that helped place those people just shut down recently, but reach out to places that you enjoy going and things like that, and see if they need any help, especially this time of year when, they might need some weeding, some cleaning, things like that. There's always volunteer opportunities and a great way to make Topeka a better place. Thank you.
Councilwoman Nager?
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I want to take an opportunity right now to thank Jane Murray, my executive assistant, in helping pull together an event for this coming Friday. As been noted earlier by Councilman Kell and others, that May is Military Appreciation Month. It started off as a very small idea, but once I gave it to Jane, it became a very big idea. But on Friday, this coming at 2 o'clock, the rain being held back, we will have a press conference. And the invitation has gone out to a number of military organizations. We will have representatives from the Navy, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, just on, and some Vietnam vets as well. The effort is to make sure that we very publicly recognize their service to the community. included in this group will be a group of students who are graduating from high school and who've signed up to go into the military. I think it's appropriate that we give them a send-off and a thank you as they go into their military career. So they also will be recognized at this press conference. So I would encourage as many people who can to show up and participate in this event. I don't know that we've done it quite to this level before, but again, I gave it to Jane Murray, who ran with it, and I thank her for all the work that she's put into this. I think it's a very appropriate way to show our gratitude. Along with that, I'm going to, at that day, show how this kind of connection to the military in this city can come back to you. A few months ago, we sent an American flag that had been flown over City Hall to the USS Topeka. And it was well received. Also sent along with that T-shirts with the new city flag emblem on the buffalo for every crew member of the USS Topeka. We got in return from the captain photographs of that same flag being draped over their command podium on ship. And just this week, they sent us a picture of the entire crew manning the rail of that submarine wearing those Topeka shirts. And it's really something to see. And every crew member signed off on it and signed on the photograph. They also sent us a captain's coin and a command cap that I'm going to have Jane wear on Friday. And the letter in there was significant because from the commander, he stated that when they first received the flag, there was a lot of excitement aboard ship. And the more they got into the connection between Topeka and the crew members, the service crew members are wearing those T-shirts at random whenever allowed throughout their workday. And so they really feel a connection, so much that, I'm going to repeat this on Friday, that every ship takes on a mascot name and a mascot for their ship. And they had the name of Red Hawks because there is a red hawk depicted on the decal of the ship. But since all this has happened, the crew members came to command and they asked to be able to rename their mascot and their crew motto. So they've renamed it to the Bison. And their motto is "Feared the Stampede." And it's all because of the connection between Topeka, Kansas, and these crew members aboard that ship. Now, that ship will be embarking on its last 6-month deployment here shortly, and then it will be decommissioned. At that time, the intent is that the ship in some way will be cut up, and Topeka will receive a portion of that ship so that we can keep here in Topeka. They also sent in their ensign, which had flown on the ship, so we can fly it again at City Hall, put it in a shadow box and keep it as an item of honor, I believe, for the city of Topeka. So it's really taken to heart by the military when you show your appreciation and your connection for what they do. So again, it's a commercial. It's an encouragement. If you can attend, please do so. I think it'll be a good event, an appropriate event. So if it rains, we're going to move indoors to the conference room on the first floor. So that's my announcement for today. I also see that we have need for an executive session. No?
I occasionally get to give good news. You can just go home.
Oh, that's, all right. That's even better yet. So.
Sylvia wants to stay.
Councilwoman Ortiz.
I vote no on that. But, Amanda was supposed to be working on a problem for me. Did she get that, or?
I'll be sending you an email on that, yes.
Okay. Let the record reflect. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome. So, seeing no further business before this body, this meeting is adjourned.
That was a surprise.
Yeah. How'd that happen?